So in the build-up to CCTV's live show on Thursday night for the general election, we caught up with Southampton Itchen candidate for UKIP, Kim Rose. So just a bit of background information. Why did you decide to run in this election and why Itchen?
Southampton Itchen, I've always stood in Southampton Itchen ever since 1997, when I stood for Socialist Labour, and I used to give speeches with Arthur Scargill back in the day. The reason being was because on the socialist agenda, it was always the socialist view to leave the EU, because it was an anti-capitalist, anti-globalist party, which the EU represents. So when things went a bit quiet with Socialist Labour, I decided to join UKIP, because UKIP was advocating, that was their main thing on their manifesto. In actual fact, it was a one-issue party at the time.
Obviously, that issue is 99% dealt with in the public view.
No, actually, we haven't had Brexit. You know, the Brexit bet is on the table. We're leaving it to Theresa May if she gets in. I mean, I don't trust her as far as I could throw her, quite frankly. I don't believe that she'll deliver on Brexit. And if you ask Jeremy Corbyn how he truly believes, which way he would vote, he would have voted to leave.
So what's the ideal outcome for UKIP on Thursday night?
To stay on the pitch. To stay on the pitch, to be guard dogs of Brexit, to hold Theresa May's feet to the fire if she does get in. I'm not even, the way things are going, I'm not sure, because quite frankly, the Tory manifesto is probably the worst manifesto I've ever seen. And they've lied and turned tail on so many things. Quite frankly, it astonishes me when they turn around and say it's a strong and stable economy. You know, there's no difference between the Tories, New Labour, or the Liberal Democrats. And quite frankly, whoever gets in, I'm not too sure if any of them are capable of doing a good job.
So ideally, UKIP is just going to be sort of a Brexit pressure group within the House of Commons for you?
Yes, and to be fair, I mean, UKIP, no matter what people think of UKIP has been the most successful protest party there's ever been. And we've taken so much flack over the years. I mean, we've been called racists, xenophobes, fruitcakes, and I've absolutely had the kitchen sink thrown at me. And, you know, I don't get any money for this. I've never had a penny out of politics, nor do I want anything. I'm doing it because this is something I believe in. You know, I haven't got long to go, but it's something I believe in. I honestly believe that you will be better off trading throughout the world than looking inwardly and being shackled within the EU.
Obviously, Southampton is quite a student-dominated area, especially this kind of time of year.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest issues facing sort of young people nationally as well as in Southampton?
I think the big issue with people nationally is, I mean, quite frankly, you know, there should be free education. How young people ever got charged for education in the first place, I'll never know. It beggars belief. And, you know, Jeremy Corbyn comes up with, it's going to be free education from October. Do you know what? If I was a student and I heard that, I'd be putting my tick next to Labour. Of course I would. You know, but how's he going to cost it? How's he going to actually... It's OK coming up with all these different ideas. Marvellous. Sounds fantastic. But he's got to cost it. We're paying £12 billion odd a year to overseas aid. Now, I'm not against overseas aid, but it needs to go where it's needed. And I don't think it should go with money, quite frankly. I mean, we gave £9 million to Uganda, and years and years ago, when we had this make poverty history, the Ugandan president, within 2 weeks, went and spent £9 million on a brand new Learjet. You know, things are not changed in this world by governments, they're changed by people. And it needs to go from people to people. Yes, supply with medical needs, supply with food. Let's go to Africa. Let's make sure that we put water in every village, you know, to make sure they've got water, you know, to do the basics, to actually help them to help themselves. This is what needed to be done. You turn round, and I'm looking at a general hospital just up the road. I'm talking to nurses that are going to food banks, and we're giving all this money abroad. Now, charity begins at home, and we need to be looking after ourselves first. So, yes, for young people, they do not need to be shackled with debt when they leave university. And that education is a right, and education is something, it's a privilege. It's something that young people should have, and they shouldn't be saddled with debt. In Town Hill Park, we've got roughly about 140 empty properties the council have. They've got them there because it's council criteria to have 1% of their total housing availability to be left empty in case of a housing crisis. Well, hang on a minute, we've got a housing crisis now. I've just parked up in the car park and I've just seen somebody sleeping on the 4th floor. up there, and he's got a little dog there. We need to help these people to actually give them self-esteem, find them a job, because we're all talented, every single one of us. We're all talented in our own way. We need to find their talents, give them belief in themselves, find them work, and make them so they've actually got a decent life, and everyone deserves a decent life.
Would you ever be tempted to go back to Labour under a Corbyn leadership, or is he not the right leader for you?
No, I'd like to be able to disagree with a few things that Labour do, but I have got respect for Jeremy Corbyn. I do like him as a person, and I think he's a man of principle. Locally here, you know, you've got Simon Letts, you've got Royston Smith. I mean, Royston Smith and the Conservatives at the moment won't even get on a hustings with me. You know, we're up for 25 years, we've been against each other, but I'm quite verbally psychotic when it comes to a hustings. So he doesn't want to face me. He's avoided three. One, I wasn't invited to. Another one I wasn't invited to, I invited myself to, said I'm coming, and then all of a sudden he said he wasn't coming. And even Simon Letts actually sent an email to somebody to say that one of the main candidates pulled out and it wasn't him. So I know it's Royston Smith. So Royston, if you're listening to this or you ever see this, I'm challenging you now, get on that stage, get on there with me and have that debate.
Awesome. Obviously, last time around you're like a lovely campaign trick of handing out sausage rolls. Have you got any special tricks for this year?
Special tricks? No, the sausage rolls have gone stale. And
another big name for your party was, of course, Douglas Carswell, who for a long time was one of your only MPs. Obviously, he left the party, went independent based on the fact that he believes the job is done. What would your response to him be in this? And do you think it has made an issue nationally in terms of people's perception of UKIP and perception of them being a sort of done and out party?
I never liked Douglas Carswell to begin with. I won't mince words. If I don't like somebody, I'll say it. I mean, Douglas Carswell came along from the Tories because, quite frankly, his politics was one of self-interest, and you could see him getting himself in under the UKIP ticket. He knew that then he would always be jumping off the bus sooner or later. He would have to go as an independent to begin with, because he wouldn't be able to jump straight to the Tories, but he'd go straight. It's a Tory through and through. You know, we don't want Tories in our party. The Tories, anyone that's thinking of defecting, go now. As soon as the result came through, everyone was in a state of shock. I mean, I was in a state of shock. I couldn't believe it. And Cameron cleared off. No one saw him. Osborne, he ran off to the hills. He wasn't seen for 3 months. He was missing, presumed dead. You know, they just disappeared off the planet because they were absolutely gobsmacked. They couldn't believe what happened. This is why I don't trust the Tories now, because they brought in Theresa May. That's fair, and I've got, you know, no doubt you've seen the pictures on the internet less than a year ago with the Remain camp saying, I'm in, and then all of a sudden she's a Brexiteer. You know, she says she's not going to cause a snap election, then she calls one. And then she introduces a cap on the social welfare, and then because she can see that this worst manifesto they've ever done, and that she's got to do something about it. She doesn't even say how much a cap's going to be. She doesn't even say when it's going to be. You know, that whole manifesto is a farce. I do not trust the Tories. I do not trust Theresa May, and I don't believe that we'll get a Brexit that we're looking for. I'd like to be able to, God forbid, if I won as an MP, I'd like to come here and yes, give a speech, but I don't want to talk about me. I don't want to talk about the party. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about all the young people in this room. I want to talk about, because there's better ideas from young people in this university that could come up with cracking ideas for local manifestos, for things that we can achieve. Let's reduce the MPs. We could get rid of half the MPs that could run this country. Let's reduce the costs. We don't need all these people that are on a gravy train and on a meal ticket, because quite frankly, most of these MPs, the only ones that ever get on are the nasty ones that want to climb on each other's back and stab each other's back. I've actually personally signed a pledge in Southampton through my solicitor to say if I win as an MP, I'm not taking a penny in expenses. My money's going to nurses, food banks, people that need money, and no expenses either. I'm quite happy to eat a bag of fish and chips on the steps of Parliament during the lunchtime. And don't always listen that, you know, UKIP is this and UKIP is made up of a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of prats in UKIP, I admit that, but there's also a lot of good people, the same as what there is in all walks of life. So maybe look at some things that maybe UKIP is doing and think, well, do you know what? That isn't so bad. You know, because we're not demons, we're not ogres at the end of the day. We're human beings. We're just human beings just trying to create a better place.